Houston, Texas, $3 to $3.5 billion in annual underground gang economy. But here's what makes Houston different from every city we've analyzed. Houston doesn't produce drugs. It doesn't consume most of what flows through it. Houston is a machine, a distribution machine, a money processing machine. 4 hours from the Mexican border, connected to every major U.S. city by interstate, home to the nation's busiest port, built on oil money that taught the city how to move liquids in bulk and hide cash in legitimate businesses. Mexican cartels don't just operate in Houston. They use Houston as the main distribution point for the entire United States. Drugs arrive from Mexico, get stored in suburban warehouses, then shipped to Atlanta, Chicago, New York, Detroit, Philadelphia, every city we've covered. And the money? It flows backward. Cash from every major U.S. city returns to Houston, gets processed, gets counted, gets shipped back to Mexico. Houston is the hub, the engine, the connector between Mexican supply and American demand. $3 billion flowing through the city annually, and most of it is just passing through. This is street economics. Let's follow the money through Houston's distribution machine. Houston's gang economy breaks down differently than other cities. This isn't about neighborhoods selling drugs locally. This is about logistics zones. Southwest Houston, $800 million annually. This is where drugs enter Houston from the border. Stash houses in suburban neighborhoods, warehouses disguised as legitimate businesses. The drugs arrive here first: cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, methamphetamine, then get distributed to the rest of the city and beyond. Southwest Houston is the receiving zone. Trucks from Laredo, McAllen, and Brownsville arrive here, unload, store, wait for distribution orders. $650 million annually. This is the local distribution zone. These neighborhoods supply Houston's own drug markets. While most of Houston's economy is wholesale distribution to other cities, North Houston serves local demand. This is where Houston residents buy their drugs. East Houston, near Port of Houston, $550 million annually. This is where drugs arrive by SEA. Cocaine from South America hidden in shipping containers. The Port of Houston is one of the busiest ports in America. Thousands of containers daily. Cartels pay port workers, customs officials, trucking companies to move containers from ship to warehouse without inspection. East Houston is the import zone for cocaine specifically. Suburban Warehouse Betty, $900 million annually. This is the storage and processing zone. Suburban warehouses that look completely legitimate. Import-export businesses. Wholesale distributors. Inside, millions of dollars in drugs waiting to be shipped nationwide. These warehouses are where bulk shipments get broken down. A 100-kilo cocaine shipment becomes 25-kilo packages for 20 different cities. Worker bees package, label, prepare for distribution. Interstate corridor operations, I-10, $600 million annually. This isn't a neighborhood, this is the highway network. I-10 runs from California through Houston to Florida. I-45 runs from Houston to Dallas. I-69 runs from Mexico through Houston to the Midwest. Couriers drive drugs from Houston warehouses to every major city. They're on the road constantly. Houston to Atlanta, 12 hours. Houston to Chicago, 16 hours. Houston to New York, 24 hours. The interstate corridors are the business, moving product from Houston to America. Total $3.5 billion flowing through Houston's distribution network annually. But here's the key. Only $650 million stays in Houston for local sales. The other $2.85 billion is Houston's cut of nationwide distribution. Houston makes money by moving drugs, not selling them. Houston is the FedEx of the drug trade, the logistics coordinator, the hub that connects everything. Let's follow a dollar through Houston's distribution machine. Level 1, warehouse worker courier, makes $600 to $1,200 per week. These are the people who physically handle the drugs. Warehouse workers unload shipments, repackage for distribution, load trucks for delivery. Couriers drive drugs from Houston to other cities. Weekly income, $600–$1,200, $30–$60,000 annually. This is working class income in Houston, better than minimum wage. But the risk is significant. If you're the driver when police find 50 kilos of cocaine in your truck, you're facing 10 to 20 years federal prison. You're completely replaceable. One driver gets arrested, another takes his route tomorrow. Level 2, warehouse manager, route coordinator, makes $2,500 to $6,000 per week. These people run the warehouses or coordinate delivery routes. A warehouse manager oversees receiving shipments from Mexico, storing them, preparing them for distribution. A route coordinator plans delivery schedules, manages drivers, ensures shipments arrive on time. Weekly income, $2,500 to $6,000, $130 to $300 annually. This is upper middle class income in Houston. You can afford a nice house, good car, comfortable life. But you're visible to law enforcement. When police raid a warehouse, you're the one getting charged with conspiracy, possession with intent to distribute, running a continuing criminal enterprise. Level 3 makes $25,000 to $75,000 per week. These are the people who control the warehouses and distribution networks. They coordinate receiving drugs from Mexico, storing them in Houston, and shipping them to distributors in other cities. They manage 5 to 10 warehouses. They coordinate 20 to 50 drivers. They're moving 200 to 500 kilos weekly. Weekly income, $25,000 to $75,000, $1.3 million to $4 million annually. At this level, you're wealthy, multiple properties, legitimate businesses, investment portfolio, but you're also a major federal target. DEA has your name. FBI is building a RICO case. Your phone is tapped. Your warehouses are under surveillance. You average 3 to 5 years at this level before indictment. Makes $100,000 to $300,000 per week. These are the people who coordinate entire regions. They manage Houston operations and distribution to the entire South and Southeast. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, the Carolinas. They coordinate directly with Mexican cartel leadership. They're moving 1,000 to 2,000 kilos monthly. Weekly income, $100,000 to $300,000, $5 million to $15 million annually. At this level, you're operating a multi-state distribution empire. You own legitimate businesses in multiple states. You have layers of insulation, people between you and the actual drugs, but you're under constant federal surveillance, multi-year wiretap investigations. When they indict you, they're seizing everything: houses, cars, businesses, bank accounts, offshore holdings. Level 5, cartel leader-based, operates from Mexico. At the top are cartel leaders in Mexico who use Houston as their main U.S. distribution hub. They don't live in Houston. They rarely enter the United States, but they control Houston's distribution network remotely. Their annual income is in the hundreds of millions, but they're also targets of both U.S. and Mexican law enforcement, rival cartels, and internal betrayal. The money flows up and outward. Warehouse workers, $800 becomes managers, $3,500 becomes distributors, $40,000 becomes regional coordinators, $150,000 becomes cartels, millions. Houston's difference. More of the money goes to logistics than to local street sales. In Philadelphia or Detroit, most money comes from selling drugs locally. In Houston, most money comes from moving drugs to other cities. Houston is the middleman, and the middleman takes a cut of everything that moves through. Why did Houston become America's drug distribution superhub? Geography, infrastructure, and oil money created perfect conditions. The geography: 4 hours from Mexico, Houston is 250 miles from the Mexican border. That's far enough to avoid intense border enforcement, but close enough for easy transport. Border cities like Laredo, McAllen, Brownsville have heavy DEA and Border Patrol presence. Every vehicle crossing gets scrutinized. But once drugs are 4 hours north in Houston, enforcement drops dramatically. Houston is in the safe zone. Past the border checkpoints, past the intense scrutiny, but still close enough for quick resupply from Mexico. The interstate system, connected to everywhere, I-10 runs east-west through Houston, from California to Florida. This is the main drug corridor across the southern United States. I-45 runs north from Houston to Dallas, connects Houston to the rest of Texas and the Midwest. I-69 will eventually run from Mexico through Houston all the way to Canada. Already connects Houston to Memphis, Indianapolis, Michigan. From Houston, you can reach Dallas 4 hours, New Orleans 5 hours, San Antonio 3 hours, Atlanta 12 hours, Chicago 16 hours, New York 24 hours. Houston is the central hub. Everything is reachable within 1 to 2 days of driving. The Port of Houston, cocaine from South America. While Mexican drugs come overland, Colombian cocaine comes by SEA. The Port of Houston is the busiest port in the United States by tonnage. Over 200 million tons of cargo annually, thousands of shipping containers every single day. Cartels pay port workers $10,000 to $50,000 to move a container from ship to truck without customs inspection. Pay trucking companies to deliver to warehouses. Pay warehouse owners to not notice what's inside. A single shipping container can hold 500 to 1,000 kilos of cocaine. Value, $15 million to $30 million. The $50,000 bribe is a tiny cost. Port of Houston security can't inspect every container. Physically impossible. So cartels exploit the volume, hide drugs in legitimate cargo, move them through when inspection is lightest. The oil industry, money laundering infrastructure. This is Houston specific. The city was built on oil and energy. Billions of dollars flow through Houston's energy sector. That infrastructure taught the city how to handle massive cash flows and how to create complex business structures. Drug money gets laundered through energy services companies, drilling, equipment, transport, import-export businesses already moving goods internationally, real estate, Houston's booming property market, construction, oil boom created construction infrastructure. The complexity of oil industry finances provides cover for drug money. When you're moving millions through energy deals, adding drug proceeds is almost invisible. The suburban sprawl, warehouse space everywhere. Houston is massive and sprawling. The metro area covers 10,000 square miles. Suburban warehouse districts everywhere. Cheap commercial space, light industrial zones mixed with residential. You can rent a 5,000 square foot warehouse in Pasadena or Stafford for $3,000 to $7,000 monthly. Set it up as import-export or wholesale distribution. Store $10 million in drugs inside. Neighbors think it's a legitimate business. Houston sprawl provides hiding in plain sight. Thousands of warehouses. Most are legitimate, some aren't. Impossible to inspect them all. The combination created the perfect distribution machine, close to Mexico, connected to everywhere, port access, money laundering infrastructure, warehouse space. Houston became inevitable as the main U.S. distribution hub. Houston doesn't just distribute drugs, it processes the money that comes back. When drugs sell in New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Philadelphia, the cash has to return to Mexico, and most of it flows through Houston first. How bulk cash returns to Houston. Couriers drive cash from other cities back to Houston. A courier leaves Atlanta with $500,000 in cash from drug sales, drives 12 hours to Houston, delivers to a processing house, drives back empty. The processing houses. These are suburban homes or small warehouses where cash gets counted, sorted, and prepared for transport to Mexico. Workers sit at tables counting bills for 8 to 12 hours, separate by denomination. Bundle in $10,000 stacks, wrap in plastic. pack for transport. A processing house might count $2 million to $5 million weekly. Workers get paid $500 to $1,000 weekly to count money. If police raid, workers claim they didn't know it was drug money. They were just hired to count and organize cash for a business. Houston processes an estimated $8 to $12 billion in drug money annually. That's separate from the $3.5 billion in drug distribution revenue. Houston makes money twice, once moving drugs out, once moving money back. And the money? Houston takes a cut of all of it. Distribution fees, storage fees, transportation fees, money processing fees. Houston makes money on every transaction that flows through, even if the drugs ultimately sell elsewhere. This is Houston, the machine between Mexican supply and American demand, the logistics coordinator, the money processor, America's drug superhub, 4 hours from Mexico, connected to everywhere. Houston proves something the other cities hinted at. The drug trade is industrialized, professionalized, systematized. It's not chaos, it's logistics, supply chain management, distribution networks, professional operations. This is street economics. We follow the money from Mexican border to Houston warehouses to American streets. Subscribe for weekly analysis. We're documenting how the drug trade operates like a Fortune 500 company. The machine keeps running. Drugs flow north, money flows south, and Houston sits in the middle, taking its cut of everything that passes through. We followed the money and found it flows through Houston before it goes anywhere else.